20-year reign of the speed metal kings, Metallica. With 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage with the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, times, people, places, and things. But at its heart and at its core, we define the Auburn experience as Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and of course, the Auburn family. And then maybe if I put it even more finer point as I'm trying to do these days, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. Thank you so much for joining us for our 100th episode of the Auburn Experience podcast, live from the Auburn Alumni Center. Big shout out and thanks to them for working with us, allow us to do this. I will also caution you that we do know that there is a lot of background noise. That's part of the experience, isn't it?
The whole experience. Normally we're a little like 60 yards this way, a little bit.
60 yards this way.
A little bit quieter.
Here Stadium. You've heard him. I'm your host, Kyle Loomis, alongside co-host Austin Scott for episode 100. We made it. We made it.
It's 100 episodes. We've been talking about it for a long time, but we finally made it, and we're in the middle of it all. We got Jordan Hare behind us. We got College Street in plenty of fashion right behind us. We even got a fraternity basketball game nearby.
We literally have what is like shooty hoops.
The Fiji scrimmage is happening live
right now
during the 100th episode.
Shout out to Fiji right now. So folks, this is an incredible thing that we're doing right now. I got to admit, it's a little bit nerve-wracking because it's quite a bit of a setup for the process. Yep. We know that all the little things, again, just we bear for your patience if you can with us while we get used to this, first of all, but deal with any hiccups that may come along the way. We've got backups going for audio and all that stuff. I mean, we're good.
We're good. It'll all be fine. It's from here on out, it's happening.
This is the producer in me, though.
It is.
Like, everything's going to go wrong.
I know not. We were just talking. I know nothing about really like the inner workings you do. And so I just tell people I just show up and talk. And so that's why Kyle's a little more nervous. I'm not too nervous because I'm just here showing up and talking.
I may not have been here an hour and a half early just to sit here and stew about stuff, but hey, listen, we're here and we're doing this thing. At 100 episodes. I mean, I know this is a cliche thing you ask. Did you think we'd really make it to 100 episodes?
I knew we'd make it. Okay. I knew early on that we were having fun doing it, which is really what we cared about most.
Would you say that we're having fun? That we
were focused and having fun.
Focused and having fun. This is the year.
It was the 2.5 years. Like how long? 100 episodes.
100 episodes. It's been 2.5.
100 weeks when but you throw in Christmas every now and then. Whatever.
We had a couple times you were sick. I was sick.
Couple.
That's what happens when you have twins.
Yeah.
Hey, the twins were not born when you started this thing.
That's a good point.
They did not know Bubby yet.
Bubby.
That's Obby. For those of you that didn't know that, that's the thing, right? Bubby, is that what they call him?
Bubby. Yep. 100 episodes though. I mean, we knew that the Auburn experience culminates in so much, not just sports, but so much, and so that's given us plenty to talk about in 100 episodes, and it's culminating here. In the middle of campus with a pretty cool episode set up for it.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. I think one of my top favorite moments, what didn't even go technically live on an episode, it was on a live stream, was where his camera falls and literally all we see is Austin's lap. And then he pulls it back up and then it's just like the most embarrassed look of all time.
It's the meme that keeps on giving.
It's that War Dustbuster.
We've had plenty.
We've had plenty of things that have occurred in 100 episodes. We've done live from not too far off from here. From campus. Not that this was a big leap and a jump to do something different, but we wanted to kind of have like an official space with Jordan Hare literally is right back there,
in our
folks.
background.
I know some of you may not want to see it right now. We'll deal with that. Just hang on for a little bit. But we've been through a lot. I mean, we've covered all kinds of things. Obviously, the sports.
Yes.
Let's be honest, the football stuff hasn't been great since we've been doing that.
That's very true.
Do they want to blame us for that?
Well, look, volleyball got on the come up. We started talking about them. Things started working with them.
Right.
Working out poorly with them. We blamed ourselves. So maybe we'll take a little blame for football. But we've had plenty to talk about. It's been good as well.
It's been good. We've had a lot of good, a lot of struggles, a lot of that. And we've talked about so many other things as well in the Auburn experience, whether it be something that you can do when you're in town. We've talked about things that have not even been in the town because as we tried to stress with this show, the Auburn experience is so much bigger than this town, so much bigger than one person.
Yes.
It is actually the most wide. And when people ask me, what does it mean to be an Auburn fan? I'm like, I can't explain.
We don't have time.
It to you. I don't have time to explain to you what it means, because it's more than just being a fan. It's about being part of something much bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
Family's cliche. It is, but
Sure.
it's real, right? I mean,
yeah, it's absolutely real. When you look at things as far as it's an international family that we can talk about a little bit later. But we've seen things venture far past just sports, far past this little town that some of us are residents of. And it's just become something much bigger that we've gotten to cover in 100 episodes and hopefully 100 more. We've even made up fake Mount Rushmores. I mean, we've really done as much as we can.
I got to be honest with you. That is still my favorite thing that we're still doing, folks. If you haven't, we do a little bit of a series within the podcast called the Auburn Mount Rushmore, where literally it's anything. Like, we're going to get to the best Auburn chicken places at some point.
Yep. And it'll be heated.
And it will be heated, because we've actually technically already done that on the E2C Network. And there were opinions, and they were all wrong, because that's what the producer said they were. So
what was your favorite Mount Rushmore?
My favorite Mount Rushmore so far has probably been the Auburn guards.
Okay, pretty good.
We're talking about Auburn basketball guards, because we had to struggle with how to break that up amongst the basketball players, because you can do Auburn centers. We're going to do something like that center, but there's only so few centers, but there's so many big men in Auburn. But that one made you think, who do I consider a guard for Auburn? And we had a lot of opinions that differed. Is this person a guard? Like, somebody would say CBM is a guard, and I will scream at them and say, no, that's just that's a swing man. That you're not a guard. You're not a big man. You are just somebody that can do it all.
Yep.
What about you?
Oh, the academic buildings. I loved the academic buildings ones we did. It was so different, and something that made us think. We had to set certain parameters.
We did.
And set certain guidelines. But it made us think and took on a whole nother level of talking about Auburn as a campus. But it was pretty cool. I've loved those that we've done, and gosh, we've done a lot here in 100.
Well, we can sit here reminiscing about all that for long. We do need to cover a few things. What we've got coming up for you in the show is we are going to talk a little bit about what happened yesterday, folks. We're going to do it. We'll have our therapy session, as we always do. But we're certainly going to have some special guests here today. Coming up on the show, we've got the international sensation, Miss D Ford from across the pond. And coming up after that, you might miss his voice in the stadium and miss hearing it on game days. Dalton Odom, my opinion, the greatest mic man of all time, will be joining us on the last portion of this show today. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. What happened yesterday, Austin?
It was a pretty warm day for it being November.
Yeah.
Not sure anything else happened.
That's it.
I'm not
That's
sure anything else really happened.
We're not going to talk about the fact that Vanderbilt has swept the state of Alabama. And I think we need to remind I want to call them brethren, because I don't see them as such, but our friends from across the state, and well, I guess technically another state, that'd be East Mississippi, that you also lost to the mighty Vanderbilt Commodores this year. 17-7.
17-7. A lot of the same of the trend of the year. I think we were all hoping for a little bit better coming off a Kentucky game where an offensive identity, like we talked about a lot last week, was kind of formed. Rushing attack of Jarquez Hunter dominated the state of Kentucky. Didn't get to see it as much yesterday. And another kind of inept offensive performance for Auburn. The defense, man, continues to show out and continues to do well. Much has been talked about Diego Pavia. Much has been talked about how he is 3-0 against Hugh Freeze in 2 consecutive years in Jordan Hare Stadium. I thought Auburn did a really good job against him as an individual yesterday. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough for a team win, though, and Auburn drops another at home, 17-7 to Vanderbilt.
You know, I got to warn people, if you didn't see this coming, at least there's a likely possibility, and I think you can tell that from some people's reactions about how visceral some people choose to react to certain things.
Yeah.
You know, I know we don't have time to get into the nuances of everything today about future and all that stuff. Right. Are we on the right path? All those things. We're just mainly keeping it focused about the weekend that was here on the Plains. Diego Pavia obviously was the big storyline and pretty much I want to say a non-factor. I mean, he's a factor whenever he's in a game. But the Auburn defense, I thought, did an outstanding job with tons of young talent.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're talking about Keldrick Falk, Kinsley Lindorf Faustin, I think is how they say his last name.
Yep.
Jay Crawford as well.
DeMarcus Riddick.
Malik Blockton.
Yep.
And I know we're forgetting some.
Yeah.
So you're having this incredible of a performance on defense, which started out pretty shaky, let's be honest, at the beginning of the year against challenging players like Diego Pavia. And they're giving the Auburn team, the Auburn offense, a chance to do something.
Yep. The trend has been there throughout the year of the Auburn defense being able to step up and even with youth, allow this Auburn offense chances. The trend of the year is the Auburn offense hasn't been able to take advantage of those chances, and that was the same again yesterday. But I continue to be impressed with the Auburn defense, continue to be impressed with the youth of the kids stepping up. In today's world, you never know if you can play the freshmen quite yet.
Sure.
But Auburn's defense has kind of had to, because that's where the majority of their talent is, and they've stepped up. It's been trial by fire, but it's not been where Auburn's had to suffer through it as much as you would expect. So it's been impressive. We'd love for Auburn's offense to take that chance and take those opportunities and step up. It's just not clicking. And like you said, we can talk about what needs to happen, what needs to change long term, if anything like that in future episodes. I don't think today's the day. When we're talking about just specifically the Vanderbilt weekend. Yes. But it's unfortunate. And I think that this is a year where we've mentioned before, it's not the year. And it's the season that's disappointing. I think we all could recognize that a few weeks back. Others are still struggling with that idea.
Some of you struggle to live in reality.
And maybe looking elsewhere a little too much. But it's where we're at. It was another great weekend on the Plains after, how many weeks?
Can we talk about that?
How many weeks?
Can I go on a rant?
Can
I go do it again?
We're in public.
I don't know who is ultimately responsible. I know it's not just one person for this 5-game home stretch at home in the sweltering month of September, and not showing us the loveliest village on the Plains during the month of October. But I will find you, and I will leave it at that.
Well, and we finally get one back in the beginning of November, and it's still at daggum hot.
We had overcast. It was
every now and then. I think I'm a little pink.
Yeah, I was a little pink after it too.
I don't even think I told you that we ventured to take the Twins to this one.
Oh, and it just didn't go.
We made through the first quarter.
First quarter. Did they get to see Bobby?
We saw Bobby on the screen run out of the tunnel. The Twins have been victim of Diego Pavia twice now too.
No.
So they're just like Coach Freeze. They're ready to see him move on.
Wait a minute. We know how we have this running theme here that when Austin attends something, we lose.
They've had a win. They have had a win.
I was about to say, are we going to blame the Twin Boys for this?
They've had a win against the Samford Bulldogs last year. So that's probably a better record than I've got.
I thought yesterday, frankly, on a day where, first of all, it's a morning game. Yeah. Nobody likes those. Where you have discord, I guess. What am I looking for? Not discord. Disagreements?
Amongst the fan base.
Unrest. And, it's been so long as well. I thought the Auburn family showed out.
Yeah.
Striped the stadium looked pretty good.
Pretty good. Was kind of surprised the student section went all blue when they showed they did well. Mm-hmm. What was it? Was that Power Stripe when they mixed it up?
Yeah, they did.
But I thought it looked pretty good. I haven't seen the beautiful shot yet, like the aerial shot, with maybe a little Photoshop touch up in there.
Well, they did this time. They took the one they shared about the Power Stripe. They took it from the vantage point where there was less of the full blue of the student section.
Oh, like that corner.
You still saw it, but the way it was taken, obviously,
you get the whole equivalent.
You get the stripe. Yeah. Because it's hard to do that, with the students multiple times a year. But I think that went well, frankly. We talked about how great it was to be back here on the Plains, even in the morning game, which continues to make me very, very frustrated.
Sure.
But what else?
Did you like 11:45 more than 11 at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So much better.
Big difference?
Oh, big difference.
What? How so?
I don't know. There's something about I'm kicking off at 11 and it was just 10:30. As the pregame festivities start, there's something that doesn't compute in my mind.
Okay.
The fact that we started and it's lunchtime, I was like, okay, I'm here.
Threw me off a little bit, but I can see that.
If we
you get around too, though.
You do. I do. Yes.
You do. Yes.
I get around the stadium. Let's clarify on that. Thank you for that. We'll put that one in the blooper reels of the Freudian slips.
You get around campus and the stadium.
Had a good vantage point yesterday. I've yet to sit in my actual seats. I'm gonna be honest with you. Not because I'm just going around trying to cheat the system. It's just I end up somewhere. I meet somebody, a listener of the show, or someone who's a viewer, or just there's an open seat.
Yep.
Even in a pretty full stadium. So I had pretty awesome seats. And I got to shout out to Brian Fulcher, one of our Patreon members, who let me come down with them and sit with them for the second half. So, result of the game, I know we haven't touched on the offense, and we do want to start kind of moving to some of the other things that we have scheduled for you all today. But anything you want to say about the offense?
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this before, and I don't think that this is something a lot of people are in agreement with, but I still want to be very careful on where we're placing our blame on the entire offense.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought Peyton Thorne had a decent day yesterday.
It's decent. Yeah.
Decent. I don't think it was great, but I think we're also going back to some expectations.
Yeah.
What are we expecting? And I think we're expecting him to manage the offense to what it is capable of, which we saw is what it's capable of is last week to me.
Yeah.
Now, why it didn't get to that last week, those are nuances and things I think we could get into more detail about at a later date. But I would love to see Jarquez Hunter get more. I think that that's the consensus of the whole fan base. Why is Jarquez Hunter not touching the ball? I think that's totally fair.
Yeah.
Hugh Freeze's explanation was he looked gassed. Whether that's the case or not, we might not ever know. But the fact of the matter is we were not able to utilize Jarquez as much as we'd like. I think that's really where you have to look at and see that's where this offense goes, is how much he's involved.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yesterday he wasn't involved very much.
But to that point, I think that's a fair argument. But I think we can't ignore that the aspect that's most important for the team as a whole, but especially the running game, is to provide a place for him to run.
Yeah.
And he must have a sliver of light to run to. And so you can hand the ball off to Jarquez all you want, but he's got nowhere to run to.
Sure.
I don't care if you're Tank Bigsby. I don't care if you're Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson's got to have some support. I've had this conversation a lot recently with people about Cam Newton and stuff like that. Cam Newton's great. Amazing. Phenom, once in a lifetime, maybe, type of player that you get here. People do not give that offensive line enough credit for what they were able to do. In fact, I think we put something out about it. Lee Zimba responded to our post about that and kind of said, people forget about us a lot. And I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about Lee Zimba, Byron Ice, and Mike Berry,
Ryan Pugh.
Yep. I think it was Chad Slade, a couple of others as well. So I really think, folks, unfortunately, what's the easiest explanation? It is, unfortunately, offensive line play that is still plaguing this team, this program. And that's what it is, in my opinion. Yeah,
no, it makes sense. You hope that, this isn't an easy fix quite as much anymore when you've been through what Auburn's been through the last 3 or 4 seasons. So you hope that those good recruiting cycles continue to pile up. You get what you can in the portal and you build that offensive line, because as it goes, the running game goes, the passing game goes. We'll see if Auburn fans are patient enough to allow that to happen.
Patience is not something that even I know well, but Auburn fans certainly don't do that. We'll talk about it some more, I'm sure, in the bye week, and maybe even have some bigger and more direct conversations about it. But we certainly wanted to acknowledge this weekend and start off the 100th episode talking about what just happened.
Yeah.
Auburn Vanderbilt, 17-7. Stings.
Sure does.
But so does it sting for Alabama, and we'll leave it at that. So coming up next, we've got our lady from across the pond, Miss D Ford, going to talk with us, and we appreciate you guys sticking around with us for episode 100 of the Auburn Experience podcast. Back with episode 100 of the Auburn Experience podcast. We have got the sweetest lady in the world, the most unlikely Auburn fan from across the pond, Steve Ford.
Good to see you, Carl.
Welcome back.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Welcome.
Welcome back to your home, I should
Thank
say.
you.
I mean, does it feel like home still?
Yep, definitely. It doesn't seem like 5 years since I've been here, and things are a little different around town, but everybody is just still as welcoming as they were.
You talking about all the high rises that are suddenly up? I know.
Completely different. Yeah. It looks different.
Here's the funny thing about this. Dee got to literally experience the change of Auburn as it's really just burst up in height overnight.
Yeah.
And like you come to one trip, it's growing a little bit.
Yeah.
You come back, it's completely different.
Yeah. I recognize a few places. I was able to go today. Oh, wasn't that such and such a shock to Susan? And she's like, yeah, that was. And I remember little bits, but other places I'm like, that wasn't there, was it? It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
We want to talk a little bit about your original story.
Yeah.
We have done a previous episode about that on Auburn Roots. She was the very first episode of it, the thing that kicked it off. And I promise it's coming back.
back.
I
love
promise.
that program.
She's been on me
Yeah.
about this, about bringing back Auburn Roots. But go listen to that we talked for about an hour, I think, on that about it. But could you just give us like the very minute, brief, how you became an Auburn fan very quickly?
Yep. So in early 2014, Jay Jacobs tweeted out that Dee Ford had become MVP of the Senior Bowl, and that just tripped everybody else in Auburn into thinking that I was Dee Ford on Twitter. And people kept interacting and saying, you should watch a football game, you should come here. Do you know where Auburn is? Do you know anything about America? A lot of banter going back and forth, banter,
Yeah, banter.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And eventually I decided to go and buy a book called American Football for Dummies and watch a game. And I watched a game, followed the book, and became a fan.
Yeah.
And made friends. People came over to London, invited me out, and I decided, I like this. And then Jay Jacobs came to London, met me, and said, "Come on out." So I did.
It's the wildest thing ever.
Yeah.
I mean, have you been familiar with her story before?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember the actual tweet and when it happened and clicking on the link, being like, I'm gonna follow Dee Ford, our former edge linebacker. I'm like, this is not him. And I think that's what ended up happening with a lot of people, right? How does I know a lot of people in Auburn are aware of your story and are aware of how you kind of came into the Auburn family. Do people over back home know really your Auburn story or how you're so tied to this university so far away?
My friends do. Obviously, new people don't understand it. If I meet somebody now, I was telling my friends I'm going out for lunch with an old friend on the 12th when I get back. And we were trying to arrange to meet up. And I said, I can't. I'm going to be in Alabama. And she said, well, why on earth are you going to go to Alabama? And I said, have I not told you that I'm a little bit famous in Alabama? And she was like, no. Well, I need to tell you when I come back because it's too long to explain. And she then went and met my best friend back home, and she said, Dee's told me that she's famous in Alabama. What's this? But she's going to tell you the story.
Maybe that's something you want to shout that you're famous in Alabama because
internationally we don't know how much of a compliment that is.
But you could just say I'm international in Auburn or whatever you want to say there. Your story to me is the quintessential Auburn story. And when I say that, it's obviously unique.
Yeah.
But what it shows is this isn't about sports in one sense.
Yeah.
This isn't about culture in another sense. And this isn't about one person.
Yeah.
This is much bigger. And to me, I always had the idea about doing the Auburn Roots series.
Yeah.
But when I met Dee and heard her story and experienced it, frankly, because I was here that first day with you. Got to watch you roll your first Tumor Street. Sorry, it didn't happen yesterday. I'm sorry. Did you go roll one by just to do it? Just didn't?
No, didn't even go there.
She's a purist.
Listen, I appreciate that about you. I do. But I got to tell you, folks, if you've not heard the full story on this, and she gave us a great synopsis there, you should go back to Auburn Roots episode 1. Again, I apologize for my inexperience at that point because that was like 5 years ago. 5 years at this point. But it's a great story in that. Let's talk briefly about this weekend. Anything new you experienced or just anything that stuck out to you from the weekend?
It's just how welcoming everybody is. I'm doing lots of new stuff now because I've seen a lot of the town, but there's more stuff that I'm going to see here. And I've met so many more people this time. And people even at the game were tweeting me saying, "Come over and see me." I signed the bus, the big. There's a big Tiger bus. There's a tailgate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been down there and signed inside of it, along with some players. And just after Tommy
Tommy
Yeah, there you go.
Crazy stuff like that. It's just new and original, and yeah.
And you got to see Jay Jacobs again.
I did, yeah. I met him down at the tailgate. Yeah.
I asked somebody, I was like, "What's Jay doing back?" And I was like, "Oh, D." That's why I was like, not that. I mean, Jay's obviously.
He didn't come here for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was here. Yeah. No, I made contact with him when I knew I was coming over.
Good.
And he said he'd be down here. So yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I am sorry that your trip back is a loss to Vanderbilt. I'm trying to not vomit.
Yeah.
It does
It's
make
not
it a little
great.
bit better that they beat Alabama.
Yes.
As well. What about the atmosphere at an 11 o'clock game? Was it still as good as you remember it?
I was so excited,
Yeah.
and everybody was really upbeat, and everybody stayed till the end.
Oh, they
Pretty
did?
much,
Yeah.
Everybody stayed. So it could have been worse.
Yeah, it absolutely. Trust me.
I had a really good time.
I think people will forget that
Yeah.
that it always could be worse.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we lose sight of that sometimes in the frustrations of a very, very difficult year. But I'm glad that you got to experience all that. You got to do the stripe out, or I don't know.
Yep.
Did you wear the right thing for your
I
section?
wore orange. Yeah.
Yeah,
She
okay.
came prepared.
Yeah.
I mean, she knew.
I mean, folks,
I was
listen.
prepared, yeah.
Look, she's across the pond and she's got it down. So surely, when you come to Auburn, Alabama on a power stripe day or whatever, you can do it. I'm not going to say that I probably never participate because I'm always. We knew that was going to happen at least one time.
At least once
I think that was a shout out to D, probably. I was like, we went the whole show without somebody power rushing
That's
past
right.
us. in the
D,
front.
you've come so close to the beginning of the basketball season here. Have you made it to a basketball game yet when you've been over?
Last time I was over, I
Okay.
made it to a couple of basketball games.
couldn't remember.
And I'm going to the ladies tomorrow night.
Awesome.
And on Wednesday, I'm seeing the men's.
Awesome.
So, yeah,
That's
I'm
great. So
really
you're here for a
excited.
while.
Yeah, I'm here till next Friday. So,
Awesome.
so
That's
I'm
great.
so excited because it's a really close thing between basketball and football now. I am obsessed with basketball.
Oh, you should be.
So I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's hard not to get obsessed with basketball when you got Bruce Pearl as your head coach.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, have you met Bruce yet?
No.
Okay.
No. I saw him at the Friday luncheon, but
Okay.
I haven't.
Certainly, we can make that happen this
Yeah,
week. I
I hope
mean,
so.
I think like Bruce came up to me when I was attending the practice one time and like introduced himself to me. I'm like, I'm literally here to cover
Yeah.
you, Bruce. Like, I know he's the nicest guy ever. Like, you know. But really,
Yeah.
what it was is I was wearing a very off
Yeah.
orange shirt. And so
Yeah.
he's like, "Are you wearing a Tennessee shirt for me?" I was like, "No, I was trying to look
Yeah.
incognito a
Yeah.
little bit, all that good stuff." You're getting a full experience this week. Tumors Lemonade. Have you already had
I
it?
haven't had it yet. I'm hoping to get one later.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Okay.
Surely there's
Yeah, that's
time
my
today.
plan. Now I'm in town.
I
Yeah.
need to see footage of,
Yep,
of it.
okay.
And you
First time?
No, I've had it before.
Okay.
And I love it.
Just original?
Yes.
Because Kyle's
Yeah,
a
I
big
don't want
fan.
any of
What-
that raspberry stuff.
Oh,
What about strawberry though?
Kyle's
It's got
a big
real
fan
strawberry bits
Has
in
it?
it. Real
Oh,
strawberry
maybe.
bits.
Maybe.
It's like I don't know if you're a texture person because you literally
Yeah,
have to
I like
slurp them
Yeah.
up a little bit, so
Yeah.
it can get a little. I don't know. what the
He's a
word-
big proponent of
Really?
the straw.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
strawberry lemonade.
Yeah.
and
They've
the
got a
original-
bunch of the fruits now.
Oh, they actually
really?
put real fruit. In all
I
those?
think the raspberry one at least is.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I wasn't
She's
aware.
here till Friday. She could have one every day.
Yeah,
Every
I'm
day.
here for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we have limited time with you, but is there anything that you want to leave us with about just being a part of the Auburn family or your story or anything?
Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone. Everyone has been so good to me so far, and I am already laden with gifts. And that's amazing that people are just so generous to me. So thank you, everyone, and it's wonderful to be back. And I will be back again sooner than I was this time. So, yeah,
Yeah, we're always happy and thrilled when you come back to
yeah,
town
it's
because
great.
it just reminds us all of our Auburn stories.
Absolutely.
Even we may not have as unique of one as you, but it still doesn't make it any less special. So thank you so much for spending some time with us
No
today.
problem at all.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Coming up, we've got another guest in the Auburn Experience with us, Mr. Dalton Odom, to talk about his experience as Mike Man. So we appreciate you all spending time with us. Hang around. Back with episode 100 of the Auburn Experience podcast. Got another special guest with us. You might recognize this face over here. You've seen him a lot in the stands, although now he is one of the old folks with us, officially graduated like twice now.
Two-time alum.
Oh,
Yep.
I don't think we can do the podcast anymore. We're not two-time. I mean, we're
two-time.
two-time
Yeah,
alum
yeah.
here, but individually two-time alum here. Mr. Dalton Odom, Mr. Mike Mann,
Hello, everybody. War Eagle.
and host.
And,
co-host,
oh, yes. The Everything Auburn podcast.
We're going to talk a little bit about that
Yeah.
coming up because I enjoy the heart behind that podcast. I think it's something everybody should be aware of as an Auburn fan. But we know you as the Mike Man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I gotta start off with a question that I know only you have the answer to, and nobody should ever question it from this point forward.
Okay.
Is Abby a real Tiger?
100%.
Thank
you
you.
have it.
Thank you.
That's
For
it right
all
there.
of you that argue with me that he's not a real Tiger, my
Yeah.
example of that is Lee Corso. Have you ever seen him wear his head?
Never.
Never once.
Can't happen.
Also, if a little fun fact that all of you might not know, he has a house underneath the football state, underneath Jordan Hare, kind of adjacent from the parking deck by the baseball field. You can look down under it and see Albie's house.
There you go.
So
How about that?
look at that.
The more you know. Now
The boys are going to be thrilled.
We need the. I don't know if you heard his boys call him Bubby.
Bobby.
Bobby.
I love that.
Bobby.
I love
We're
that.
obsessed with Bobby right
Yeah,
now.
and
I've
I-
seen every
perfect.
hype video on the YouTube there possibly
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
We're obsessed.
That's awesome.
So now I try to put videos up on E2C Network just so that his twins can watch it
Yeah.
over and over again. Get those views up. Let's,
Of course.
let's-
Of course. That's perfect.
Might be cheating the system if my co-host is the one giving us those, but
Oh, no, it's fine.
that's how. All right, we apparently somebody had a really good basket
Somebody
over
sure
there
did.
at a Fiji house basketball game. It's like an all-star court over
Oh,
there.
yeah. I love it.
Let's talk about Mike Man stuff.
Okay, let's do it.
Like, whatever you want to go with that. I mean,
Okay.
how you became a Mike Man, why
Yeah.
you became a Mike Man,
Yeah.
all that.
So I had wanted to do it ever since I was 13.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I remember watching the kick six in the prayer at Jordan Hare, and I saw this guy jumping up and down, going crazy on this box in front of what I thought looked like the student section. Come to find out, it was student section. And from that moment on, I told my parents, like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, if I go to Auburn, like, that's what I want to do. And my best friends from high school, my parents, whole family can tell you, it became almost obsessive. Like,
Yeah.
I would practice every single day. Like, if my friends rode with me in the car to go to like Sonic after a football game, I was playing the fight song and practicing my voice.
Yeah.
And so, I was a pretty untraditional student. So I actually been to 3 colleges.
Okay.
So I
No,
went to
2 here. I'm good.
yeah. I went to Jeff State in Birmingham for a year, and then Southern Union, and then transferred into Auburn as a junior. And so to be a cheerleader at Auburn, you have to be a student for a full year before you can try out. And so did junior year. I'm getting ready. I'm prepping for tryouts. I'm going to cheer clinics, and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so that was just a whole ordeal. So didn't make it that year. And then come to find out during my senior year, not all my stuff transferred from Southern Union,
Man.
which who can complain? I still got to continue being an Auburn
Right.
student.
Oh,
so
darn.
dang
Yeah.
it. But because of that, I was able to try out at the end of my senior year,
Yeah.
and then I made it.
Yeah.
And then once I made it, I was like, I love this. I can't just do this for a year. So applied to grad school, somehow got in. And my grad program was 2 years. And so I cheered for 3. So, and I loved every second of it.
That's awesome.
Listen, I have a lot of respect for what you guys do. And we're talking about not just the cheerleaders, we're talking about Tiger Paw, we're
Yeah.
talking about the band.
Yes.
Every aspect of it is a lot of hard work
For
and
sure.
dedication. Did you guys ever have like a time to yourself? Because if you weren't at football, preparing for that, you're at volleyball,
Yeah.
cheering for them, basketball,
Yeah.
going to some community event.
Yeah.
Was it really busy?
Very, yes. So during the fall, we practiced 4 nights a week from 6:30 to 8:30.
Yeah.
And then when I was in grad school, I was either in class every night. So my classes were from 5 to 8 o'clock at night in grad school. Awful after you've been, and I was GTA, so I
Sure.
taught during the day.
Ooh.
So I was teaching, I was a cheerleader, and I was in grad school. So there was a lot going on. Yeah, blessed to say I'm a 2-time alum. Don't know how I got that second one. Don't know how I made it through that. But yeah, so practices 4 nights a week. And then on Friday nights, sometimes we'd rather cheering at volleyball or basketball or whatever. So you got, my free time was like me in the car on the way to practice or on the way home from practice. You got in free time where you could.
Yeah.
Sure.
But the 21 people who you cheer with, and then the Tiger Paws and Albie, like, I mean, we're all just like, it's like one family.
Yeah.
And so you all get really close.
Yeah.
And suffer together.
Yeah.
But it's the best suffering. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah.
So
Dalton, outside. Let's take out game day. Saturday game
Okay.
days outside of it.
Okay.
What was your favorite part of being Mike? Am I safe to assume Saturday game days would be
well,
number
no,
one?
Saturdays were great, but it was always really humbling for me when I would be like just out in public and I'd have like right now I have nothing Auburn on.
We'll forgive you.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. That's on me. But like I'd be out in public and I'd have like a little kid run up to me and like tug my leg and like ask for a picture, and it would always take me by surprise. And it would take me a second to be like, oh yeah, I'm the mic man. Like, let me. Yes, I'd love to take a picture. So that was always really cool. Just like knowing that, because of Auburn, I was having an influence on somebody. It was really cool. But my favorite thing I ever did, we went to Children's Hospital. Before football season started, us and the cheerleaders from Alabama went, and just seeing those kids and being like, who am I to like be able to like make this kid in these families' days and just distract them from whatever they have going on. Very humbling. But that was probably my favorite thing.
What an impact
I got to do. Yeah. Outside of something athletics related.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, obviously it's hard to beat the athletic side of these things, but you know, when you do things for even a greater reason on top of the reason you initially got there, it just makes it more fulfilling for you,
100%.
makes it fulfilling for everybody else, and just continues. I mean, I can't imagine probably how you personally, everybody else involved, has broadened the Auburn family just by making someone think about, wow, I maybe wasn't an Auburn person before.
Sure.
But because of that enthusiasm, that love that they experienced from you representing Auburn, maybe we've got some new Auburn fans here because of people like you.
Oh, thanhanks.
So look, have you convered any Bama fans yet?
Yes.
Oh, see, I knew it.
I have two
An
stories.
angel got its wings.
I have two stories. So I actually grew up in a split family. So my entire family, pretty much on both sides, like immediate family, they're all Auburn. But growing up, my dad was a huge Alabama fan. And after me cheering for about a year and a half in, he pulled my mom and I aside and was like, hey, so I have some news to tell y'all.
Oh, no.
And we were like, what? Like, what's going on? And he was like, I've been coming down here for several years, and Dalton's about to graduate again. Like he's like, I think I'm going to be an Auburn fan now. He's like, it's hard not to love this place. And my mom started sobbing. She's like, I've prayed for this for 20 years.
Like, so serious of a conversation right now.
Yes. But then outside of cheer, I was a student recruiter for 2 years also.
Yeah.
And I gave it one tour, and there were these Bama fans, like who were the mom and the dad were Bama alum, and were not heckling me the entire tour, but kind of just giving me a hard time. And I will never forget at the end of the tour, they pulled me aside and were like, hey, like, kid, you did a good job today. Like, you kind of made us fall in love with Auburn a little bit. So I don't know if I converted them at all, but they left respecting Auburn a little bit.
You planted a seed.
I planted a seed.
See if we
Hopefully their child came here and was able to water it.
And listen, if they came here, they gave money to us. So
Exactly. So
we'll
take it.
I say it to us like we get the money or something.
definitely
we
No,
gave
same.
money, several of all
Yeah,
that.
I get it.
The Everything Auburn podcast.
Yeah.
You are now one of the hosts on it.
I am.
Lead host? Or
Co-host.
Okay. I don't know how that works.
We're so sorry you have to spend so much time with Carter.
No,
Gustin,
Carter's great. Carter's great. He keeps me humble. He's great.
Tell us a little bit about that. What's the premise behind it? And I know it's been around for a little bit, but now with you associated with it, what's the heart behind the show?
Yeah, so the Everything Auburn podcast is the official university podcast.
Yeah.
It's put on by the Office of Communications and Marketing, which is where I'm working now, which is great. But basically, it's just to tell the Auburn story.
Yeah.
So whether that be from current students or alums to our faculty and staff, just what are the things that they're doing that relate to Auburn, and how has Auburn catapulted them into doing just great things. Sure. So the episode that we just came out with was this guy named Dale Jackson. He was our guest, and Dale created this thing called Snazzy. And it's for anybody, young or old, who has a disability. Sure. It's to allow them to be able to come to an Auburn game and for their family just to have like as normal of a game day experience as possible.
Right.
And so he's not an alum, but what was really cool during the podcast, he told us, I knew because of the Auburn family and because of what the creed says, like Auburn would help me do this.
Yeah.
And so it was really, really cool to have him sit and chat. Me, Carter, my other co-host, and him. I think we all teared up at one point, but it was great. So make sure to check it out. We come up with a new episode every month. So.
Listen, I am no shame to tearing up a little bit.
No,
we
same.
have always talked about the homecoming video. It didn't get me this year. It was still good, but there's one that I like have saved on this computer right here.
Yeah.
That when I just need to cry,
Yeah.
I just turn it on every time, and I'm like, this is like 4 years old at this point. But every time I watch it, man, I'm like, good Lord, what are they trying to do? Kill me? Like,
No, me and my buddies would always know like if there was an away game like we didn't cheer at, or there was something that like say we lost or we were trying to get hyped up like for a game. I have a YouTube playlist called For When I Need to Feel Something.
Yeah.
And it has
There you
those
go.
homecoming videos and like just stuff from Pat Dye and everything.
something
so,
tells me that was played yesterday.
for
Yeah.
sure.
You know, with
That might need to be shared with the greater
Yeah.
Auburn family.
I'll send it to y'all.
You might actually do some good with
Yeah,
the mental health of
yeah. I'll make
everybody
sure to
right
share it with y'all.
for me personally, yeah. So we've talked to you about Mike Mann. We've talked to you about the Auburn Experience podcast. Well, that's what you're on right now. Everything Auburn podcast. Anything else you want to leave us with? Just about anything on your heart about anything Auburn related?
Oh man,
That's a big question.
I'd say just keep believing in Auburn. I mean, I know it's rough
Yeah.
right now, but we didn't choose to love Auburn because of football. So we all love Auburn for different reasons, and Auburn is bigger than sports and athletics. And I think that your podcast and the Everything Auburn podcast that I'm on are perfect examples of that, and why we love this place so much.
Exactly.
So just keep believing in Auburn.
Well said.
Yeah, it's so much bigger. And that's why we call the Auburn Experience Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff, because I find when it's well-rounded, sure, you feel what we all felt yesterday.
Yeah.
But it doesn't destroy your life. It doesn't make
No.
you respond to these, but you're able to kind of rationalize because you realize there's so much more to be excited about. I mean, what better than to be out here today? The stadium that made us all miserable yesterday, we love seeing it.
It's still right there.
It's
I'm
right
still-
there, man.
Still, it's
Still
exactly.
standing.
You know what would have been great? I should have thought about this. We should have had Obby pop up right here somehow. We
Oh,
should have
that would've been
arranged.
perfect.
Just all of a sudden, there's Bubby, whatever.
Makes everyone feel good.
All right. Thank you so much for
Thanks for
spending time
having
with
me.
us. Yeah,
I
of course.
appreciate it.
We will certainly. Hopefully we won't be a stranger. We might have to have
No,
you on
not at
again
all.
in the future.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for spending
Sweet.
some time with us today, hanging out with us.
Thank you.
War Eagle.
We're back with our final segment.
Yeah.
Episode 100 of the Auburn Experience podcast. We have had quite the show here, quite the experience. Fiji House is still balling, if you're wondering.
They're still balling. We don't know the score.
Don't know the score. It sounds like they're having a good time, though, and I think after yesterday, that's all that really
That's
matters.
right.
We have had some incredible guests today. Dee Ford, her story.
Yes.
Dalton Odom, his story, and various things that he's been involved with. And I think, I'm not going to go into the details of it. Pulling off something like this is a little bit stressful sometimes,
Sure.
and things don't always work out exactly how you want it. But I'm so thankful that those two were our guests today
Yeah.
because it captures what this show is about. Besides the trucks that decide, hey, man, we got to show what's up with our engines.
It definitely captures what this show's about, and the overarching thing that Dalton and Carter try and do on their podcast, we try and do every week. Auburn is so much more than a disappointing football game, and there's not to say it wasn't disappointing. It's disappointing.
Oh, it's just
So much more than all those things that all get us all fired up. It's a culture, it's a family, and it's plenty of things left to come. So really appreciate having them on today. They did a great job. Fiji agrees with us. So.
Fiji agreed with it. So I don't know what's going on there. Somebody clearly won, but they're having a great Auburn experience right now, even after a very bad day. Look, we obviously know this is a little bit unconventional of our episodes. We usually have a news segment, stuff like that. We obviously won't dive a lot into that today, but you got so much to look forward to the next couple weeks. There's still plenty of football to be played. basketball.
People, Shooty Hoops is
Shooty
tipping
Hoops.
off.
It's already tipped off.
Yeah,
right
well,
over here.
official Shooty Hoops with actual athletes is tipping off.
Wow, Fiji House. If you watch this, I'm sorry. That was Austin G. Scott. Austin G.
On
Scott
X.
On X. You can hit him up and let him know. So yeah, there's plenty that we're going to be talking about, even outside of just with how football's doing and all that kind of stuff here. Do you think we're going to make it another 100?
I think we'll make it another 100. I think we'll do it. We've done it. Sir, thank you so much for making me do this 100 episodes ago.
I didn't make you do
Kyle,
anything.
look, I'm going to be honest. I've told Kyle many times when we were talking about if I should do a podcast with him is I don't like the sound of my voice. Thankfully, he's the one that's listened to the sound of my voice because he edits and produces it, and he'll tell you that. So once he sold me on that, did it. But I appreciate all the work for you do for our show, the E2C Network as a whole. And 100 episodes, man. Here, hoping we'll do 100 more. How about it?
Listen, I'm down. Obviously, this is what I do now. So rain or shine or major losing seasons or whatever.
Windy days,
Fiji basketball games. The show is brought to you by Fiji House. Apparently, I can't really officially
Fiji
say
House
that.
and the Alumni Center.
And, but we do need to. We said at the beginning of the show. Let me reiterate this again. It's always a challenge pulling things like this together. We are so thankful to the Auburn Alumni Center for being gracious enough on a very short notice to let us come here,
giving us an answer.
Stop it!
I'm gonna instigate.
But we are so thankful to them. I think it was Lynn who's been the biggest help with that. So thank you to her. Thank you to the staff here for allowing us to do that and hang out here and talk about the Auburn Experience on our 100th episode. Many more to come.
Yes.
Many more to discuss. And certainly we are going to be talking a lot more over the coming episodes from our own studios.
That's right.
Maybe from somewhere on campus. Maybe from the mobile broadcast studio, aka the back of my car. But it doesn't matter because we're here to talk about that experience, enjoy it with you. And man, it's been a joy to do 100 episodes with you.
Absolutely. War Eagle.
War Eagle to you. Until we talk to you again. Stay good, everybody.
The Auburn University Marching Band is under the direction of Forrest Burley, assisted by Mickey Woods. Director of Bands is Rick Good. Percussion is instructed by Aaron Lockler. Graduate assistants are Chris Schumel, Colin Carrington, Lynn Washington.